What is up, everybody? Welcome to part B of Saving New York Gyms. For those of you that liked yesterday, this one will probably be a little more intense. I don't know why. I just feel it in my blood. Maybe because it's Sunday. So first, let's get everyone on in here. We're going to do a quick little round robin. And today we're hopping right into the meat and potatoes, like everyone always says. I don't know why meat and potatoes, but that's what we're going with. So let's get everyone on in here. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
So we're going to do a quick little round robin of intros. We're going to start with you, Rudy, then work our way around. So just tell us name of your gym, where you're from, real quick. Go for it, buddy.
Orange Theory Fitness, franchisee. I got 3 of them, 2 in Staten Island, 1 in Westchester. I'm from born and raised in Brooklyn, but live in New Jersey.
Miguel
Awesome.
Miguel Aguande, Absolute Power Gym in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Just one gym. It's full center, strength training, cardio. Been there for close to 4 years now. The gym itself has been there for 20 years. Also from Brooklyn.
Wow, a lot of people from Brooklyn. All right, Michael, go for it.
All right, I'm not from Brooklyn. Mike Evans from Long Island. My business is in Patchogue, New York. I have 4GK Martial Arts and Skills of Patchogue, which is a child development center that fell under the gym definition because of the type of floor we have.
That's fun. Who knew flooring made you a gym? But Mong, go for it. Where are you from, buddy?
Hey guys, my name is Mong Fu. I'm in upstate New York. The town I'm in is right between Rochester and Syracuse. I run Fusion Mixed Martial Art, which is an MMA gym. Population in my town is less than 3,000.
Wow. And I got to say one thing just for everyone watching this, quick sidebar. Mong is that awesome, amazing person who did all these graphics for us. So I can't thank him enough. And they look awesome, and I hope all of you guys agree. Amazing. So we're going to jump right into it. Like I said, meat and potatoes. That's what we're all about today, guys. We're not beating around the bush and all that fun stuff. I think everyone kind of knows at this point that we're all people. We all have stories how we're hurting. I don't think there's one successful gym owner in the state of New York. So we can pretty much clarify that. We've seen stories of people that file bankruptcy. They're expecting 60% of small businesses going out. The fitness industry will probably be more than that in the state of New York. And it's a pretty heart-wrenching time. So, Rudy, we're going to start right with you. I just want a little brief of how you think we should make gyms essential. What would you do?
Making gyms essential, I don't think it has anything to do with what we would do. We all know that the science behind COVID is, obesity is a major factor in how this disease attacks the human body. I think we all could say as gym owners, we've had customers reach out to us and say, man, if it wasn't for your gym, I contracted COVID even early as March. If I wasn't working out, I think this disease would have possibly taken me, or I would have had long-term side effects. But luckily, what you guys do at your facilities, I was able to weather the storm a lot better than most people that I know that had contracted COVID. So you hear stories like this all day. We can't make gyms essential. It's up to our government, and it's impossible to have our government make gyms essential, in my personal opinion, when all the government wants to do is, when you're listening to Biden, when you're listening to Cuomo, when you're listening to de Blasio and the likes of them, that, Jim's the evildoer, we're the spreader, when we all know very well that we are far from that.
Yeah, I think it's a perception at this point, and that's what we're starting to see left and right, people not perceiving. But I'm going to turn that question right over to Miguel. So it is about perception. We're seeing that some people think gyms are super spreaders, and it doesn't matter how many times we can say it. how can we go and prove that, maybe there are some cases here and there, but it's not the main reason COVID's spreading around? So how can we help ourselves as an industry in a non-political point?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I think that the whole situation, as we all know, was and the whole decision on the closing was based on fear and lack of knowledge. They don't want to. To me, they don't want to own up to that, Anthony. Going further, I mean, I've seen outdoor places, restaurants, with people walking in, 10, 15 people with masks on, and they sit at a table. They're all eating from the same guac. They're all eating from the same chicken fingers. And you can't just say that that's essential and I'm not, because it's a source of because they're going to eat. It's a source of food. We're in the business of health and wellness, of taking care of yourself. Obviously, everybody knows what that does for you, for your well-being, for just in general, for your life. For you to be able to just say, just pick one side of the industry and say that's okay, and not look at us, which, if any industry is the one that battles sickness and disease, it's horrible. That's my opinion on it. It's I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get into politics with it, because I don't think it should be. I think it's to me, I think it's pretty self-explanatory that what health and wellness does to any individual. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel.
Mike, I'm going to skip you because I have a separate question. I'm going to go right to Mong. Mong, I got a question for you. I want to relate what I was talking to Miguel about. I want specifics. What are gyms in the fitness industry willing to do to bring Governor Cuomo to the table and say, hey, work with me? If you were in charge and you got to sit with him for 20 seconds, his opinions, where it's coming from. People who he's got a 61% approval rating. So more than half of New York agrees with him. It's an understanding of what can we say, hey, we want to help ourselves. We want to feed our families. How can we help ourselves? What can we do to help persuade him to come in our direction? What can we do?
Well, I would use everything he says and throw it back right at him. He keeps on talking about the data and the science, and the data and the science doesn't back up what he says. You know what I mean? All the people go out to the gym, or healthy people want to stay in shape. They want to be proactive with their health. Okay. All the people who are having COVID death, or in the nursing home, or have really high morbidity. So it's just really weird to have a blanket, ruling across the board. And you need to think very holistically, not just like, he keeps on using buzzword like saving life, but there's other issues at play. There's the economy. There's a way to support our family. And there's also people who need to work out, especially if you live, thank goodness I don't live in a big city, but imagine you live in a big city. You're basically getting in your car, and then from there, getting into a small building, after work, getting back in your car, and then going back to your little small house. You need an outlet. You need a physical outlet. When he uses buzzwords, and these buzzwords are not backed by science and data. We don't question his buzzword. We don't question his data and science. And for us to take his statement at a face values is as uncalled for. And that's the thing that I have a problem with. We need to question what he's saying. That's just my personal opinion. So.
Thank
we've
you.
questioned
I
his opinion.
That. What?
We've questioned his opinion. We've been down that road. I'm part of a pretty large organization. I don't want to say a large organization, but we are a franchise, and we have some money behind us, and we have lobbying groups. Our attorneys and our lobbying groups have sat down with Cuomo's team. We've used all the logic. We've shown them social distancing, how Orange Theory is able to keep everybody socially distant at all times. There's no science. There's nothing that makes sense to that guy. He does not care. There's a bigger current underneath there that, I don't think any of us understand what his motivations are.
So is there, like, I'm going to go directly for Charlie wrote on here as well. What would you do to make him change his mind? What could we do to change his mind? Well, this is something I really think it's important to stress, which is why I keep bringing it up, is if he's a Democrat and Democrats want to sit down, regardless of your political opinion, we got to bring something to him to show that we're willing to work with him. It's a give and take. I think the color red's better. You think the color yellow is better. Why don't we meet in the middle and meet at orange kind of deal? That's how you're going to create compromise. That's how you're going to create change. Everything's a give and take in life.
I actually did.
You know, we went through this a little bit with the massage industry.
What
I'm also a massage therapist. So when the massage, and it's been a long life. You know, when we went through this with the massage therapy industry, going from being unregulated massage yank and crank, you know, to something that is actually therapeutic, recognized in most cases as essential, though they closed us down during COVID. A lot of it was that it was exactly what we're doing now with the fitness industry, where somebody stepped up and said, well, we need to be regulated, but we would rather take charge and present you with a set of guidelines and regulations that actually fit what we do, instead of waiting for the politicians to think it's an important thing to talk about. And then we certainly don't want them in charge of defining us, because they don't have that inside view. So for massage therapy, it was, we mandated a certain amount of schooling. We mandated a certain amount of continuing education. We mandated certain ethical protocols. And that was the thing that allowed them to put us under the Department of Professions, so that we could be regulated, but in the way that we wanted.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. That's you nailed that one right on the head. It's bring something to the table. What can we bring to the table to say, hey, this is where we're going? Rudy, you got one for me there, buddy? What would you bring to the table?
You know, here's the beauty of it. We've been open for some time now. We have data. We have proof that, you know, we haven't spread COVID. We're not part of the problem. We're part of the solution. Let's use the science of the state of New York now that we've been open for some time. And let's talk about how we make us essential and how we bring health to you. I mean, and I love what, you know, when it comes to being able to define how we're regulated, similar to what the massage industry is. But once again, you can't create those regulations in the middle of a pandemic. I think it's scary, because they're only worried about X, and they're not looking to define us as a profession. They're just looking at how to regulate us at this point.
That's interesting. So that's a different view. It's definitely different. So you're saying that we should do it. It's just not right to bring it up during the pandemic, but post-pandemic, it's something that should be looked into and changed, because then it's not all about Corona. It's about how to regulate the industry, correct?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you're looking at an industry, you know, one of my biggest challenges is I own our gyms that we have, is we require every single one of our trainers to be nationally certified. And one of our arguments is, like, I wouldn't let an electrician or a plumber without a license into my house to do electrical or plumbing work. Why should I let somebody without a national certification put their hands on my body without not knowing if they even know what they're doing? That whole entire, yo, bro, I look good mentality, so I should be a trainer. That's got to go. We've evolved past that.
So let's talk about that. I'm going to bring that question right to you, Miguel. Just specifically, trainer certifications. How should we regulate trainer certifications? Should there be a regulation? Should we just stick to the nationally certified one? Should there be any kind of control moving forward with this? Specifically, talk about personal training certs and what you think of that specific. Go for it.
I think they definitely need to be regulated. I think the certs are good, but I think the certs are, I mean, from what I've seen, I mean, I have trainers. I think some of them, I have trainers come in my gym with certifications I've never heard of, Anthony. It's got to be. I look for NASM, I look for ACE, I look for, my background checking is very strong with who I have. Do I think they need? Yes, 100%. I think there's got to be a bigger through the schooling that is involved with these certs that are given from NASM to ACE to AFA. Something's got to be done where there's got to be a thicker how do I say it, a thicker way of having the trainer itself, the individual itself, be more I can't get the word I'm looking for, Anthony, but you know what I mean, like
Qualified.
Qualified, professional.
Not just right, not just qualified in general, but just because you have a NASM. But there's got to be more to it. I feel like anybody can get a cert nowadays.
Well, getting the cert is step one. The business owner is developing them into what your business needs are is a totally, that's up to the business
you're
owners,
right. Right, you're right. 100%. Even on my end, and I'm pretty fresh when it comes to that. I have some trainers. I don't hire without any sort of experience. And I look for the right qualified certifications for sure.
Yeah. So Mong, I want to get Mong in here on this one to talk about the personal training certs that they're both talking about. We're saying one universal. Do you think we should come up with our own certification through this coalition where it's the same thing for everyone across the board? Or do you think we should grandfather certain certs in? Because I can tell you right now in the state of New York, you don't even need a cert to be a personal trainer. And that scares me.
I want to backtrack a little bit. The more regulations we have, it's actually worse for any business, right? Because now you're allowing the government to come in. The government's not asking for more regulations. The government is just across the board, just shutting down fitness facility. And we are basically handing over more power to them. And we're making a big mistake. I think we need to look for linchpin or kinks in the armor. That's how we're going to be able to negotiate. Right now, we're actually doing a disservice for ourselves by basically giving up a lot of our own negotiation power by telling the government that we're willing to give up all these things. And then all they have to do is say, yeah, do all these things. Then come back to me 6 months from now when you have a regulating body or when you have this, when you have that. I think that's a completely wrong approach. I think we need to approach it in a very business systematical manner. I think we need to approach it in a very a way that forces Como to understand what he's doing right now. For example, I don't know what the latest status, but a lot of people are leaving New York City. I mean, a huge upper middle class are leaving. A lot of people are leaving New York State. It's going to keep on going. He talks about how he wants people to stay because it's hurting his bottom line. This cannot go on. So I appreciate what everyone's talking about, but I feel that's the wrong approach. I feel like when you go to the negotiating table, we are already going in a weaker hand. You know what I mean? And I apologize because I just like to backtrack from what we talked about 5 minutes ago.
I love what you're saying, man. I totally agree. We should not open ourselves up to negotiations for regulation. We need to open up negotiations for deregulating us, allowing us to open up 100%, allowing us to have masks as an option for us or not. We are adults. We should be able to make those decisions internally. And you know what? The mass population, they could decide, hey, if I want to expose myself to COVID, I understand the risks. I can go outside and catch COVID anywhere. If I want to catch it at the gym, let me catch it at the gym if I don't want to wear a mask. If I want to wear a mask, I can wear a mask and not catch it. I get it.
I agree 100%.
I just want to...
The question of regulation even goes beyond just COVID, though. As you look at every other industry that I've been in that has gone through certification. So we had the massage therapy. We're actually going through it with kids martial arts right now. I'm actually working on creating the certification with our parent company. It's not about regulating me now in masks. That's a given. We're in a pandemic. For us, it's about raising the bar overall. So like you said, in New York, I'm not really in the gym industry other than by definition. But I know in New York, nobody needs a license to open a kids martial arts school. And I see people actually causing more damage than good because I have the education based on the certifications we're putting together to be able to recognize that. So I think as we look at regulation, we should focus less on, like you mentioned, Rudy, in the beginning, don't regulate us in the middle of a pandemic. That's not fair to judge me on my worst. I would say, though, looking forward, it's important for us to raise our value and to say, not everybody can do this. Only the best can do this. And I expect to be one of those best. So it works unfairly for me, I guess.
Specifically,
Yeah.
Michael, I wanted you to talk about kids martial arts, because it's something that makes you different than everyone else here. I didn't know that. I didn't know that teaching a martial arts studio with kids, you didn't need any kind of special cert. What's the liability like on that? Let's God forbid a kid gets hurt, you're going to court and you say, oh, by the way, judge, I don't have a cert. I have no insurance. That's a scary thought.
It is. And, even worse than that, you get into without regulation and background checks and, people who are not running a professional. And I'm not saying this is everybody. I think these days there are a lot more people who are running professionally, cert or not. But, looking into background checks and who's a pedophile or who's got, criminal backgrounds, we don't do any of that unless it's an individual business. And it does legally open us up to, when we have to go have those conversations, it's, did I think of everything? Did I cover all my bases? Versus being able to say, here's the regulations, here's what I set forth. And then same thing from, a business perspective. How does a prospective customer come in and say, well, this school's cheaper? Well, yeah, because that guy trained for one day in his life and he figured out that he can sell the uniforms or whatever. I know what level of training for teaching I went through, not just for martial arts, but not everybody has that. So I would love to see, that aspect come in as well.
But
I think
Anthony,
yeah, go for it.
I just, with the kids, with his program, I'm not too, obviously it's not my side of the business, and I understand, but it's sort of like anything. It's the same thing in the health and wellness industry. You got guys who post, hey, come work out with me in the park on social media, and people are just gonna go down. You know what I mean? You don't know if these guys are certified or not. I see it all the time on Instagram. Hey, 10 a.m. workout, Prospect Park, be there, and
I was thinking about the booty programs they do on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they talk about, I just sidebar on this because it blows my mind, just to kind of prove a point. There was a famous fitness model. I'm not going to give names, obviously, but she sold and made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of these booty programs she was selling. How she had a great butt. Well, she ended up in the ER about 6 months ago because her butt muscle exploded from putting in too many steroids.
Yeah.
So this is the shit we're dealing with in our industry. I want people to know that.
Yeah, but you're never going to get rid of that. But you'll never get rid of that.
No, you won't. You won't. You're right. I mean, but eventually, listen, I don't. I'm all for if they want
Charlie,
to do it,
I said
go,
no
have
names.
Fun. Have fun. I say, but as on the consumer side, you need to be a little more. Maybe some people are selling for $10 a session. Maybe some people are selling for $30 a session. If you're, then you're going down to a park or whatever, you got somebody telling you how to squat a deadlift. Where are you taking the advice from? From where? You know what I mean? That's not, it's just, that's what it is right now.
I just
go for it, Mong. You had a opposing opinion on this. So.
I honestly think more regulation is the wrong answer, and I want to get back to the children's martial art. I've been doing martial art now for 25, almost 30 years. I train professional and amateur fighters in MMA, and kickboxing, and I've seen people who are certified, and some of them are not worth the paper that's written on. More certification is not the answer.
Well, certification is not regulation, though. Certification is a piece of paper.
Yeah, but why do we need regulation? Okay, I just want to backtrack. Instead, we should do another approach where we as an industry educate the consumer, because there's so much information out there, the consumer will right away know what's good, what's bad, rather than handcuffing ourselves. Okay, like who I don't like all the politics that goes on in the martial industry. One body, awesome, stepping in and whispering ears to the government saying, I want to be the regulating body, stuff like that. And this is not the right time to talk about it. This whole thing was about COVID, and now we're completely sidetracked. like in another 6 months, what's going on? Like I had to convert my gym to a bookstore. Like basically I sell books on Amazon and eBay. I have no interest in opening up my MMA gym because it robbed the joy out of my, I train people to fight. It's very physical, it's very in your face. And I'm not interested in wearing masks and training from 6 feet apart. That's not what I do. You know what I mean? Now, granted, there's other people who can run a fitness facility 6 feet apart and whatever. So I chose not to do that. So, you know what I mean? So I feel like this is not the time to talk about, I honestly think it's a bad way to approach this. You know what I mean? Like just, it's a bad business approach in the sense that we are handicapping ourselves. We're going in with negative negotiating power.
It does come to a point where I understand. I think we're at a unanimous decision where now is not the time. And I think that's pretty apparent. But I'm trying to view this from, I'm coming in as Cuomo. I'm coming in as the state. And you know what? They're keeping us shut. The reason they're keeping us shut is because they don't have regulations over that. We're in a democratic state. If we were in Texas, this would be a totally different story. We wouldn't be having this conversation because we would have been open months ago. And they would have just, so the fact is we got to pay to play. And I think that's what they're looking for, is that pay to play, ante up something to start a conversation to get that essential status. We want to become essential in New York, not just go for it. What? No,
I'm so
whatever.
Sorry. First of all, I don't see how we become essential under this scenario right now. What we're living through, I think it's a hard bargaining chip to convert us to essential. And here's where how can we pay to play when you're bleeding us dry at 33% with masks on? How can we even come to the table and even have an arm to stand on when, we sit here as a coalition, but every single day people are dropping out of this coalition because they have to close their doors and they're now, maybe we should start a bankruptcy coalition at this point. We are going to be we're bleeding. There is no way that this industry can survive under this type of ruling. We need to open up. I
couldn't agree more. We need to open. We need to get 100% open. And
we are looking at data. You want to look at data? Take a look at Connecticut. How many gyms have had COVID spread through the gym industry, and they've been open since the summer? They have no mask mandates, and they're operating. Look at Florida. They got rid of social distancing with no masks.
Yep.
Why is it? This is the tale of two cities. You look at, and this is what we're living through. Why does it have to be the tale of two cities? We are the United States, not the tale of two states.
But Anthony, can I say something?
Yeah, go for it, Miguel.
So it's the same thing. Listen, it's obviously we need to get open now. Like I'm open, but I'm open, but my business right now, after building it for 4 years, is now a brand new business. People every day come into my club and say, "How are you guys doing here?" And I say it's a brand new business. I'm lucky that I'm open. On the other side, that I got a lot of friends that can't open or are out of business already. If you asked a question earlier about if I had 20 seconds to say with this so-called governor, and say to him, how can you let other businesses have even outdoor seating? I mentioned this before. How can you tell me that that's different from what is going on inside the gyms? I mean, I know it's indoors and I get that part, but people have masks on. People have masks on. They're not going to tables and sitting with 10 people. Did these people sit in that same table that sat on that table? Did they quarantine for 2 weeks before they went to this place to eat? I mean, I don't understand. Like, how could you distinguish it? You know why? Because one's outdoor and one isn't. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. In Florida, you go to the station, which you're right. They did away with the social distancing, but you go to the station with your mask on and you take it off at the station. The Board of Health doesn't even understand what it's doing right now, because they're saying 33%. 33% of the people that come into my gym do not want to do cardio with a mask on, Anthony. They all want to go to the strength training side. So even if I had 90% occupancy, they're all going to go on the strength training side because nobody wants to run with a mask on. Nobody wants to get on an elliptical with a mask on, a Stairmaster, etc. And it's
Yeah,
lack of knowledge. It's lack of knowledge on their end.
There's two questions that are apart. I think this is the biggest problem I've had explaining to people on both sides of the spectrum. I've talked to a lot of people about this from every walk of life. The two questions are, one, do the executive orders make sense? That's an overall blanket. I think it's pretty unanimous decision, especially if you're a gym owner. They don't. I think that's pretty unanimous. Everyone here can agree they make absolutely no sense. It's like, why can you, like, the second you stand up from the table, you're a COVID spreader, you're not in a state for 23 hours, you're good, 24 hours, you're screwed. That stuff doesn't make sense. It's pretty arbitrary. I think that's the main reason we're going after his executive power, because it's arbitrary. But the second question, the reason we're closed, the reason behind it is because Cuomo has control over other industries. Like, you look at restaurants, he pulls their liquor licenses. You look at a massage therapist, you pull your license if you don't follow the mandates. You look at doctors and nurses, you pull their licenses. He has that control, which in his mind, that's what's hard for people. You get it from his perspective and from other people's perspective. His mind, he's saying, I can screw them over if they don't listen to me. And that's what people need to understand. And if we go to him and say, here's something you could have, let us 100% open, not 30%, not maybe mask or no mask, let us decide. But if we come and say, you have the power to strip our personal trainers from certifications, but you have to open us 100%. That's room to talk at a table. And I don't want to talk too much about the same question, but it's more about understanding there's two sides to every story. And that's how you really have to look at it. And if I go to someone who has, my family members tell me that gyms don't deserve to be open. I've had that conversation with them because of these reasons. They're so convinced that gyms are super spreaders and that we won't follow the rules and that, they're discussing places. They don't know the cleaning protocols we put in. They don't know that we're taking the extra steps. They're not aware of any of this. So it's changing public opinion to show, and it's coming across with a new point.
Yeah. If you look at this,
you gave out some amazing advice the other day that I'm running with this week. I do a lot of business coaching as well for our industry. And, the advice you gave out was to go ask your members that did come back to do a video about why they did. That they're never going to believe us when we say it. I've put out video after video about my cleaning, and I've worked with Kevin to get the science out because I'm a science guy. But that's me talking about my business. Of course, it's awesome. Getting that public to hear from the other public is going to be really powerful. And I really hope people follow through on that advice that you gave. That was worth thousands of dollars if it sells me one membership.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it all comes down to. It's the fight for the membership. So that's a different question, Michael. And I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Kind of changes up a little bit. So personally, what are you guys doing to help bring customers back in? And then what's the feedback you're getting off of that? So what are you doing right now to help Polk, just help ourselves? What kind of feedback are you getting? Real quick, we'll do a little round robin. Rudy, you're first. Go for it.
I mean, there's a lot that we're doing. Our outreach is tremendous. We have a pretty large database. We're doing personal outreach. We send out videos of us cleaning. We send out testimonials. We'll send out recommendations. And we're just making sure that we're in touch with our customer base that used to be part of our customer base, as well as reaching out to a whole new set of customer base. I think what really has to be the focus, and so people don't forget, we need to be focused on new customer acquisition just as much as we're probably focused on the people that are no longer comfortable coming in. The fear spreading there's a huge fear onset to the customer base that we need to we need to address that by sending out testimonials. And what I've seen is keeping your social media game as high as possible, right? Showing them other people in the room, showing them working out, showing them your cleaning, showing them testimonials. All of that has to be in their face every single day. And the more we put that in their face, the more every single day somebody's going to crawl out and say, ooh, what's going on? You know what? I'm ready to come outside and play with you guys. Or my gym has closed and I want to come and play with you guys in your sandbox. So it's fighting that fight, not walking away from the fight. And I think it's also, I'm going to throw in 2 cents that has nothing to do with this, is we can't be closing down gyms if you could somehow stay alive. Remember, there's a moratorium put out by the governor. The one good thing that he has done for us is our landlords cannot kick us out right now. So even if you're not paying your rent, don't close your doors, fight the fight, keep going, and just get the word out. Get the word out that, hey, it's safer in here than it is in your supermarket.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Miguel, you want to add on to that?
Yeah. I've established using the social media as best as I can to follow the safety protocols. You know, we put a lot of stuff. We blast stuff through social media on what do you call to let them know the peak hours of the gym. You know, when people are when we feel the volume is going to be at its high. You still hear me, Anthony? Okay. Hold on 1 second.
Go for it, buddy.
All right. Yeah. So, you know, peak hours, extended hours to make the gym, you know, spread out the times of the gym. The stuff we put in place with the cleaning, you know, the cleaning that's been going on in there, the extra staff that I've had to put in the gym. You know, I went above and beyond, Anthony. I don't think I could have done more than what I've done there. To keep the members and the ones that are scared, you know, I offer to freeze memberships and just give them the option. When you feel you're comfortable and you're ready to come back, the gym is still here, you know, to let them know that I'm not billing them. You know, 6 months of not being open, Anthony, crushed me. You know, it crushed me. But I always look to the positives. I'm still open. Some places can't say that. And I'm doing my best to build it again. That's where I'm at right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Michael, you want to add on to that?
Yeah. So, I mean, first, let me just say that I'm very appreciative of being on here today. I know it was a last minute addition, and listening to you gentlemen is so motivating and inspiring to me, especially as we have different opinions and we're working our way through it. So thank you guys for that. For us, when we first reopened, it was a lot about educating using social media. You know, we're hardcore on social media, about our cleaning protocols and making people feel comfortable. These days, we do it a little more subliminally. So as I'm showing what's going on in my school, I always make sure that like somebody's in the background of the picture cleaning kind of thing. But we've really focused on changing the narrative from, oh my God, yes, it's safe, you're going to be okay, masks. We've changed that to a conversation, especially dealing with kids and being a child development specialist, of children are going through, and I'm sure adults are too, children are going through a lot of post-traumatic stress right now. This is a clinically defined event that of trauma in their lives. So the things that we're talking about a lot is not so much, yes, it's safe to come back, but more, you need to be here because your child needs this support. Here's why, here's the chemical basis, here's how we help. So we've gotten out of what's wrong with us and more into how we're going to help them, which I guess should be a sound marketing practice anyway, as I think about it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I love that. Mong, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'm in a different boat than you guys. My rent, my overhead at my gym my gym is pretty big. It's the size of a grocery store, and I live in a small town, so I basically lost all my students. And 6 months ago, I pivoted, like I said earlier, and I really do not have any interest in reopening until everything gets settled. I'm worried about another shutdown. I'm worried about people's mental psyche. So far, I have a few people ask me, "Hey, can I send my kids?" And I'm saying, "No, I'm sorry, my gym is not open." Or can I do private lessons or whatever? And I kind of push them away. My goal is to make enough money to support my family, pay my mortgage, pay my car payment, and survive. And then when everything gets settled, I'm back at it again. I do not want to do this half, with my hand tied, and I do not want to do this where my joy's been robbed from me. I do not want to train people 6 feet apart from someone, and so I come from a
Yeah, you got
different
martial arts,
scenario, and
different.
I understand how exactly. And I know other gym owners have like 4 gyms. So this is your baby. You can't do anything else. You can't pivot. And thank goodness I was able to pivot. But for me, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to hear the barometers of what everyone see. Like right now, out of my 30 students, none of them asked me, hey, can I come back or whatever. I mean, a few have, but it's not like half of them have. So everyone's so busy doing so many other things. People are just trying to survive in my area. I live in a super small town. So I'm waiting to hear that, that's that feeling from everybody. And that's when I'm going to reopen. So it's a slightly different scenario than everyone else here.
No, thank you. Definitely different, and I appreciate the feedback on that. The next question we're gonna dive into is pretty much the main topic of this: is how can we save New York gyms, and more specifically, what can you guys do along with the United States Fitness Coalition to help band together to save each other? I think the biggest thing we can say is that if we don't stick together, we're single-handedly going to be eliminated. So one big group is bigger than everyone going individual, and that could be this true across the board. So talk about holidays coming up. You got Thanksgiving right around the corner, then Christmas. We all know what that's like in the fitness industry. So what do you think it's going to be different this year? Do you think there's a way to save New York gyms at this point? And what can the coalition do to help you guys? And what can you do to help the coalition? So Rudy, we'll go right back to you on that question and do another little round robin. Go for it.
Sure. I mean, when you're talking about the holidays coming up, I think you're going to see a lot less people traveling. So it just goes back to that whole mentality. We got to start selling, right? We got to be in their face and stay connected with the people that you are, the people that are watching your social media. I think that's probably our number one thing, or however you communicate with your customer base and potential customers. You got to be actively out there selling. I think that's the only way that we as an industry is going to survive. We can't sit here and continue to fight the government. I think that's a long battle that we cannot afford. I think what we really need to do is just focus our efforts on selling health, which is what we all did very well, and built an industry that's unregulated on it. And we've done a great job doing that in New York and in every other 49 states. Focus on the health aspect, focus on and get back to that pre-sale mentality. We are back to rebuilding our businesses. Even at 33%, I know it's a bleed. It's rough, but keep pushing. And the only thing that we could continue to prove is the data that, hey, we've done so many workouts and we've had no outbreaks, or we've had an outbreak, but yet still, we're still doing our part, and we're doing more than anybody else. We're able to contact trace, we're cleaning, and we are going to do our best to keep everyone safe. But your health is not going to take a backseat. Every day that you're not focusing on your health, you're losing the battle.
Yeah, definitely. It becomes important to make sure that as an industry, we need to really push health. I mean, the biggest killer in the United States is still cardiovascular disease, 1 in 4 people. So we want to flatten that curve. And that's something we've been trying to do for years. That's the fight. And if we can save lives, which is why we all do this, it's very important to make that understood and keep pushing forward on that. But Miguel, we're going to hop on to you, buddy, with the same kind of question. More specifically, though, what Rudy didn't really touch on is what can you do for the coalition? What can the coalition do for you? How can we help ourselves and unite as one group to push forward, survive the holidays, and see a better tomorrow?
The
Your
word has to
volume
be
cut
spread
out,
out
buddy.
consistently, Anthony.
Oh, there you go. Got it. Go.
Same thing. All right. The word has to be spread out consistently of the coalition. We have to be aggressive we have to be aggressive on passing, passing the word, having people sign the petition, understanding that we're looking to become essential right now. A lot of people don't even know that, every member in my gym right now we're asking them, please, we're giving them the logins, the website URL. We're trying to expand it, spread it as best as we can. There's a lot of people in my gym that I tell them, what is it about? Well, we're trying to become essential. We want to be, we're trying to keep safe, so nobody can ever. We have to go through this 6 months of this again, and some of these members didn't even know. They don't even know what essential. Some are like, what do you mean? And so you have to be very, very specific with them to make them understand what it is. And I think a lot of the people who come in the gym who say, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you guys are open." Well, help me stay open. Just pass the word, spread the word around. That's the biggest thing. Like Charlie, Charlie said it to me the other day on a chat. Just keep spreading the word. Pass it on as best as you can. I mean, I'm not going to get into the difference of why I'm not essential and why the liquor stores and McDonald's around the block from me are essential. I mean, we don't need to get into that, Anthony. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just. But the main thing is to explain the part of becoming essential and make this spread like wildfire. It has to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Michael, I'm going to bounce off something you wrote on here. You're talking about the advertising. You think some individual did, but as an industry, we didn't have any consistency. Just to add on to that a little bit more, I agree. And I think that has a lot to do with the big push now on social media where all the marketing and advertisement paper stuff and doesn't really work as well. And we need to get online. And I think a lot of people in every industry don't really understand that, but it does come a lot with it. So talk about a little bit what we can do to help. During the holidays, Charlie's saying we're going to push videos and advertising about health and wellness. What can we do for the coalition? What can the coalition do for us? How can we help ourselves as a group and unite to really see a better tomorrow and save New York gyms from going out of business across the board?
Sure, great question. So, as I look at marketing in general, I look at it twofold. I'm a huge content marketer. I hire people to do my ads because they're far better at it than I am. But as far as the content marketing part, I'm a huge fan of educating my public. I'm a child development center. We use martial arts as the tool to help kids develop. But we're not really a martial arts school. And when we made that transition, it was a really hard sell from how do you go from an $80 a month martial arts school to a $400 a month child development center? So we had to go through a lot of education in our community. And I think that's also what we can do as the coalition. Charlie mentioned putting out ads and commercials. Those of us with other strengths like blogging or podcasts can also hear from that. The other prong of that attack is always, what are we doing for ourselves? COVID is not the way that I wanted this to happen, but it was an amazing opportunity for me to pivot my business and recreate myself. I see a lot of people, they get stuck on the masks. Well, I can't do cardio the way I want to do cardio if I have to wear a mask. So I'm not doing anything. I think it's really important for us as owners to look for mentorship and some mindset training. And I think that's something that maybe the coalition, with all of us coming together, we can help each other out with, is finding those ways that, well, if we can't do it this way right now, what can I do? What's going to be the new and unique thing that comes out of this? And I know we all have our passions, about what we want to do. But as a business owner, you also have to feed the public's need. And being creative about that through some mentorship is really powerful as well.
Yeah. What you're saying this right now, my brain's going a mile a minute, I think it's really safe to say that every single one of us here has our own strengths and weaknesses as far as running a business. There is definitely things I'm going to full admit on air I suck at doing.
Well, I have an accountant.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I pay an accountant. My P&L sheets, looking at numbers, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not going to pretend it is. So it's something important to think about and understand. But maybe, which kind of, Michael, exactly what you're saying, if we came together and said, you know what, I'm good at this, you're good at this. Why don't we run seminars where I'll come on and I'll talk about social media marketing and do a free class for all of us, which I'm willing to do because I think it's safe to say none of us want to see any of us go out of business. And then let's say somebody else wants to come on and say, you know what? Numbers are my game. Let me do a lecture about how to pivot your numbers to help save you guys some money. And then Mong wants to come on and he wants to say, you know what? Graphic design is my cup of tea. Let me come up with something to help you guys get better graphics because mine suck. So him doing it is night and day difference. But it's stuff, if we did that as one, if we put all of our strengths and best foot forward, it blinds out our weaknesses. And I really think that's the way to move forward and help save each other. Mong, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I want to just so I am familiar, but not super familiar with that coalition. I apologize, but I'm not. I think there's a website, but what if the website has like, I wouldn't say a bartering system, but a system where people deposit their strength, like like that flyer, that thing I designed for you. I look at so many I look at so many gym owners, and my English is not very good, but my sensitivity
It's
to
amazing.
visual aesthetic is very acute. And I look at it, yeah, and I look at it and I see so many problems, and I don't want to say anything. But what if I design a poster or something where all the gym owners can use, just for free? In exchange, somebody else can give me something. You know what I mean? And like, I think all of us has a lot of different strength. Like, I'm not an accountant. I hate numbers. I hate looking at numbers. And I think Mike, I think, was on the right track about mentorship and stuff like that, where if we can just leverage each other's strength and just give freely, pay it forward, because this is a crunch time right now, and I think a lot of us are in survival mode right now. And if we can somehow just help each other, like I'll extend this forward. I used to work in the fashion industry as an art director, graphic designer, fashion designer. So my visual aesthetic is very acute, and so I'm willing to help someone out and design a poster and provide that poster get used across the board, across the whole industry for free. And I'll design a spot where it's an empty spot, white space, and you can just slap on your logo and your verbiage or whatever. What if we have something like that? What if we have like musicians, like people who play music, they can upload commercial free or copyright free music, so you can put it in your intro and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that we minimize the cost and we save time and we just go forward as the industry. Like pay it forward. That's just, if we can have something like that, that'd be great.
Yeah. I think the only I like being devil's advocate. It's kind of my favorite thing in the world. The only downside of any of this is some people are going to be putting in a lot. Some people are going to be putting in nothing. But I think it's safe to say I'm willing still to do it regardless if people put in nothing, because I don't want to see another freaking gym owner go bad, because that makes me not sleep at night, and I want to sleep at night, and I want to help all you guys. So I'm willing to do anything for free, even if no one else does anything. And I think this is how Charlie feels. And Charlie, I apologize, but
hey, Anthony,
do a lot and no one else does anything. Go for it.
Could I weigh in on one thing?
Sure.
What I think the state of New York has done very well, and when I say the state of New York, I think Cuomo is really scare the people really quickly. And there's fear in everybody's minds about COVID and the gyms, and that correlation really exists very strongly. One thing that I've noticed is we're a group of about 5,000 gyms. I have to imagine that within our 5,000 gyms, we train influencers, professionals. Mong said he's trained professional MMA fighters. I'm pretty sure we've trained some very, very what's the word I'm looking for? People that have a huge following on social media.
Affluential
People. I think it's influential, all of that. I think it's time that we use our resources, and we got to use them quickly. Mong, I love the idea of paying it forward, but I think we need to pivot fast. We need to move quickly. And I think us as gym owners, it's time to start using our resources and asking our members, hey, if you could do this for me, it would be greatly appreciated. Or, hey, you know what? I'll give you a free gym membership. Get the word out that COVID and gyms are not related. You've been working out for this many months, or you've done so many workouts and you haven't caught COVID. We got to get the people that are scared out of their homes to come play with us in our sandbox. And we got to use the resources that are available to us right now. And marketing is, a huge thing, and breaking away from the fear. So if there's anything that I could ask of the coalition is, hey, let's use our resources to start spreading that, hey, health and wellness, fitness industry is not the devil. Let's get out and let's start using our influencers everywhere where we can and start changing the message. We need to change the message. Cuomo cannot be our message. He is not our mouthpiece. We need to move away from him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great point, and it's something I've been doing. I just want to give a little shout out. Bucks County Bites is a podcast. I was on there yesterday. She published it today. I shared it in the group. I spent the whole entire time, instead of talking about what I do, I spoke all about the New York Fitness Coalition and our fight against Governor Cuomo. This is something I've been doing. My cup of tea, podcasting. So what am I doing? I'm getting on every single freaking podcast I can to spread our word, to help get the message out. And if more people did stuff like that, then we could change the world. And Charlie, I'm going to counter argue there, buddy. There's 10,000 gym owners and only 500 have come on board with Taking Claim, and only 900 have donated and help. I'm going to reiterate a point where the silent majority exists in every single position. There's people that are afraid to talk about their political opinion because they get patronized by others. The American Revolution, I'm going to use that as an example so I don't have to talk about current politics. A lot of people thought we should split from England. A lot more people thought we shouldn't split. And very few people, the ones that thought we should split, took action. And those that took action used their resources to help change the United States and form it as we know it today. So if we get the 500 on board, if that's 500 more resources, or 499 more than we didn't have. So if I took 499 people, that's great, because right now it's just me. So it's something interesting to talk about. But I want to get to the last question. I want to wrap this up, guys. Last one, the one I ask every single person on here. Is the cure worse than the disease? Let's do a round robin in this. I'm going to do reverse. So, Mong, is the cure worse than the disease? What do you think, buddy?
I definitely think so. I think there's an overemphasis on trying to put a lid on this. When you look at the original message, he talks about flattening the curve. We have flattened the curve. He talked about keeping it from overwhelming the health system. The health system is not overwhelmed. Right now, he is basically controlling almost every aspect of our life. You know what I mean? It's not fair. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Miguel keeps going in and out. So, Michael, we're going to go to you.
Sure. So, in all honesty and transparency, when this all first happened, I was actually on the other side of the argument, and I was for more restriction up front, with the idea being that if instead of making a bunch of suggestions, we actually hopped in and locked it down hard based on what we had, it probably would have gone away much quicker. Now looking long term and seeing what I see in the kids as far as their regression developmentally and emotionally, we're getting to the point where the cure sure is worse than the disease. Not to minimize the impact. I mean, I've had COVID in the family. So I don't want anybody also thinking that like I'm not taking it seriously. But as we look long term, we have to start looking at living, not just being alive.
I think that's a good point. And even though I've made this very public, I believe to an extent things were never shut down. But I also didn't disagree that we were shut down. I think it was a 50-50 coin flip in my eyes, whether you closed, didn't close, because we got hit hard by something we knew absolutely nothing about. But at the flip side of it, we now know well about COVID. So that's what I always say. It's important to understand, hey, we know what it does. We know how to stop it to an extent. There have been a lot more cases, Charlie, but the mortality rate has shrunk every single day. More and more people are surviving from this disease than ever before. We are at a 99.97 survival rate, which is way better than we were out in March and April, which is something important to think about. So yes, more cases, but more people are surviving. So flip side on either one. That's why this conversation go either way, and that's why it depends on who you talk to. But Rudy, is the cure worse than the disease? Go for it, buddy.
I mean, we all know the answer. The cure can't be shutting us all down. And the disease, just like you said it, you know, less people are dying from it. And every day that we're living with COVID, we're learning more about the disease. So there are going to be better approaches on how to cure it. And initially, hey, the shutdowns did make sense. I'm with you on that. Today, I don't think they make sense. I think, you know, there's a lot of effects of this, and it's not just on our industry, it's just on humanity. The fear spreading, what it's doing to our kids. This cannot be the way of life for the next couple of years. And if you look at it, hey, there's still cases of measles, there's still cases of chicken pox, and guess what? We still have the flu, and COVID's not going anywhere. So we're gonna have to learn how to live with it. We're going to learn how to operate our businesses without mandates, without executive orders, and just trust that, hey, we are educated on it. We as humans are making our decisions. We as individuals need to be able to take our own risks that we deem that are necessary for our lives to the way that we want to live it. We cannot live under mandates. So that's my answer to it.
I appreciate that. And thank you guys all for coming on. And thank you to our audience for joining us for part B of Saving New York Gyms. I am trying to get a promo Esther going up. If I can get it, I'll make that announcement, but it's going to be unreal if we can add this to the show. But anyways, that concludes our 3-part series of Is the Cure Worse Than Disease? Thank you everyone who came on, all 3 of them. I know we had a lot of guest speakers. We dove into special needs. We dove into being a landlord in other industries. We dove into saving New York gyms. I really appreciate everyone coming on. I appreciate everyone's opinion. And obviously, this is a very hard topic to talk about. So thank you guys for coming on today. Until next time.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Charlie, for
Thank
putting
you.